Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, 3rd of June, 2021. Welcome to Hindsight, episode 14, where we learn to be a better trader in hindsight. We're going to take a look at the trades that were taken for today and what could have been done better. We're going to take a look at Flight Centre, Z1P, and MDX. Now, we're going to start with we're going to start with Flight Centre today. There was this little triangle pattern here. This is the daily chart, and then, of course, the horizontal at the top of that triangle. I tweeted this one out yesterday. There was really good potential for the break, and today I also live tweeted about the intraday positions that I've taken. Not all of them, but some of the really clear setups along with the stop losses and the thought process as the trade was happening. So you got a bit of hindsight there as well if you want to go back and read that. Let's talk through the intraday. Now I do want to point out that this high here on the daily is 15.91. And the high here is $15.94. So we're going to take a look at the intraday today for that one. And this purple represents the range of that horizontal, so 15.91, 15.94. And the plan today was for Flight Centre. There was two things that I think could have happened. Firstly is breaking real clean to the upside and then coming back to retest this sort of purple horizontal range. And the second one was we just dribble a little bit over the top and then come back under. Now, I was expecting more like a sell back down to this level here, but XJO or the Oz 200 really was on a pump this morning, so I think that gave it the extra little boost today. Fundamentally, you might complain that Flight Centre doesn't belong back up here, and look, I wouldn't disagree, but I don't care. I trade the charts. So I'll talk you through this particular trade here that I've taken. Now, this did end up doing that sell-off that I was talking about, a trickle above major resistance and then coming back off. It did so on high volumes initially, and then it kind of just started to roll over. There was a test of VWAP here, and it was done on low volumes. There wasn't a real strong confidence boost to this one. So that was the one of two things, right? It was going to just dribble over the line and then crash down, or it was going to pump up really nicely and then come back and retest and be a long. So if this shot up like 20, 25, 30 ticks and then come back down, I don't think it would have taken a dip. I think it would have just been a clean bounce. So shorted it based on the weakness of that bounce and scaled into the position. The liquidity on this one was okay, like it was good in the morning, and then it really tapered off. Putting anything more than 1,500 in size would have been particularly dangerous, I think. During the COVID times, having a 5,000 share position was quite comfortable for Flight Centre. But, every line here has about anywhere from 800 shares to about maybe 1,200 was like the average amount of shares per line. So it was a lot less or significantly less comfortable to put on size on a stock like this, except for obviously the opening volatility, which I just avoided. Match trading for me, no thank you. I'd rather not in this environment, and definitely not without a catalyst. So obviously Flight Centre, no catalyst, just a technical break. And then I saw this action here on this candle on the high volumes. I didn't actually see the order book as it was happening. I couldn't tell if it was hitting the bid or lifting the offer on the high volumes, and that to me matters. If there was a big order and it was hitting the bid, right, it was getting sold into, I probably would have held my short position a little bit longer, scaled out a little bit, but held the rest. Instead, I scaled out, saw it starting to swing back up, and just closed out the position over time. So was happy with that particular trade. Everything kind of made sense there. Swung back up over VWAP. I wasn't at my screens at the time. This horizontal, I had a stop loss from this position to here, 1606. And that ended up getting triggered because I manually exited this trade and left the stop loss here. Ended up being a happy accident because technically this would have been correct to go long here anyway, not just close out the position, but to go long as well. So happy with that. Ended up spotting the fact that I took that trade. And it looked pretty weak on its way up. I wasn't happy about the way it created a new high. It looked fairly weak, so I scaled out. And then what I did discover was this trend line here was what I was looking at. So as the stock came down, I was looking for a high volume rejection, didn't get it, so didn't enter the position. Straightforward as that. This is a bullish breakout of the stock. Right? On the daily chart, this is a nice bullish breakout. I do not want to short this without some confirmation. I don't want to short this on low volumes because on this candle here in particular, there was actually really high volumes to the upside. So it was looking like it was just gonna whoop straight back up, or I was looking for just a slow grind back up and then see what happens there, and then probably short the retest if there was high volumes to convince me. So there was a real big high volume shake here. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was just funny to watch. So that was enough for me to say that, hey, we're going to get higher lows and we're going to probably make lower lows as well. So I was happy to take a short scale into that one, and I tweeted out the position that I made of this horizontal. The target that I had and the stop loss, I believe, was 1620 was the stop. So I didn't want to see it above basically where I entered, and that was somewhere around there. I can't remember if it was 1616 or 1618. I'm pretty sure it was 1616 that position, but yeah, that's right. 4 ticks of risk for about whatever, how many ticks of profit that was, 10 ticks of profit. And the idea here was this horizontal was basically it. So I scaled out of the position. I had a bunch of orders because my concern was I spread out the orders, the buy orders, because this price action here was getting me concerned. It was holding, and on pretty decent volumes. It was like rising volumes a bit, and it just refused to sell off. And then, you know, this bit here kind of spooked me a little bit that, hey, I was probably prepared for a loss as it was heading back to the upside, but let it go, just watched it a little bit longer, and eventually I got my high volume puke, and there was, of course, high volume hold, and then entered a long position, scaled in, because that obviously is a major level, right? Intraday, this is a major level. You may as well call it the major support or the breakout level. So intraday, pretty significant. No surprise it held there, because again, keep in mind, in context, in broader context on the daily chart, this is a long trade, right? Tomorrow, it's likely going to be green as well. So I kept that in the back of my mind that, hey, this short isn't going to last long. So major level, obvious place to close out the short. And then, of course, obvious place to enter a long as well. Good volumes held it up, which was enough for me to convince me to scale into the position. What I didn't like was this sort of horizontal here. Obviously, we have this little shakeout here on high volumes. And of course, we had a little bitch move here where it failed to really continue and create higher highs. So that was a level of concern as we went up, came back down, wasn't happy with the volumes. I know it's like it's after 11 o'clock, the volumes are going to be pretty garbage, but I really wanted to see some sort of conviction to the upside. Closed out a part of the parcel, and you know, it came back up, saw what was happening, or wanted to see what was going to happen with the rest of the parcel that I had, and closed out pretty much at the same level as well. I wasn't convinced by the price action, and of course it ended up just going sideways for the rest of the day, so I didn't touch it. The liquidity was, you know, down the drain, as it usually does for these larger cap stocks that don't have any kind of fundamental reason to move. It's just a technical break. Now Z1P, this one was interesting. I probably should have gone long. I think the reason this really moved was the Sezzle announcement. You know, there was a bit of a boost to the BNPL space, a bit of, you know, rising tides lift all the boats kind of thing. And obviously Sezzle's a much smaller company than Zip, but I think it had a good influence on it today. There was opportunities to catch VWAP multiple times, and it felt weak to me. Zip just felt weak. But at the same time, on the daily chart, it was looking really healthy, even at the level where it was early in the morning. So it looked quite nice. So going back to the 1 minute chart. Again, this was the range. So once it broke to the upside, I didn't want to chase it. I wanted to catch the pullback. I didn't want to wait for VWAP because I didn't think it would get there. So got a small parcel in here and just scaled out arbitrarily. There wasn't really any reason to sell out at this level. I saw some volumes come in for the sellers earlier on, and I was like, right, this didn't feel very strong to the upside. So got a few ticks out of it, basically scalped it, and no rhyme or reason for that exit. And looking back at it, I mean, there weren't really any clear targets. Of course, there was, the bit of resistance level, so hence the bit of a struggle to break through there. But I guess ultimately ended up only having a few more ticks to the upside, and I was just pretty happy with that. There was a VWAP opportunity here, didn't end up taking it, but happy with what I got out of it. MDX, I have here the 30-minute chart, and I spotted this one. I actually came across this one by accident, the stock ticker. I was watching some video about some people that were talking about it by chance. And it was on actually a podcast of all things. So I actually looked it up. I was like, oh, what happened on MDX that they're talking about? Happened to see that this was swinging to the upside, and it looks a bit subtle, but if we actually get rid of these monster volumes for when it IPO'd or when it listed, we can see the volumes were actually doing all right. So little spikes of volume, and it was just heading to the upside. It was looking quite nice when I caught it at this level here. At around, what was it, 2 o'clock when I spotted it? I can't remember, 1 o'clock. You can check my tweet for that one. I pointed it out before the breakout happened. I was happy with it. There was a pretty key level of resistance here that I was trying to break through. So happy to take it at 8 cents. I am planning to hold this one to about, first target was 8.8. It got very close to there today, but the main target here is 9.9, 9.8. The idea for me is to scale out as it gets into this range below 10 cents. I know in my previous video I mentioned, hey, look, I've been selling out too early at the 10 cent level. I should hold to 10.5 or 11 cents. But that's for rallies up to 10 cents when they first hit that target. So what we have is actually a relatively recent level of resistance here, bang on 10 cents. So I'm happy to take it at 9.9 or 9.6, you know, maybe take out 15% of the position, 9.6, 15%, 9.7, and scale out larger and larger as it gets to the 10 cent level. So I'm not phased by a tick or two. Ultimately, it's about catching that momentum ideally. So there was a bit of a rally this afternoon, and I didn't actually close out my position. I wasn't interested in just closing out today. I wanted more of a swing trade all the way up to hopefully the high nines. Whether it comes tomorrow, whether it comes Monday, I wasn't actually anticipating this kind of push. And if we bring up the 1 minute chart, so this break above 8.1, I think traders spotted it. And of course, you know, a good chunk of people sold. And it closed at 8.4 into auction, and quite decent volumes into auction as well. Let me just see if I can bring up the auction numbers. Yeah, so 419,000 shares. You can't see it on TradingView, but 419,000 shares, very similar to this volume candle, a little bit less. So really nice close. I'm happy with that. It makes the daily candle look even better. So if we bring up the daily, that chart I just had was the half an hour. Made the resistance levels a bit clearer because we can see on this candle here, it's not as clear where the resistance is on the daily chart. So half hour chart made that very clear. And of course, we've got the 10 cent level as well. So if I zoom out, you can see the whole graph. It actually looks really nice on a swing to the upside on rising volumes. Now, these things tend to have 3 volume bars that are increasing, heading towards a breakout. So I think there's like a terminology for this, like 3 marching men or something like that. I'm not sure or familiar with the actual terminology, but that is a pattern I've noticed on these micro small caps. Is that, you know, there's rising volume, so 1, 2, and there'll hopefully be a third one where there's going to be perhaps some kind of volume exhaustion, looking for at least double the volumes for tomorrow. That's obviously ideal, not guaranteed or anything like that, not a recommendation to buy or sell. I'm just talking through what I see on the charts here. And of course, I'm going to be making another video real briefly on just this setup here, because I know a lot of guys who trade intraday won't probably be interested in watching the video for this, but you know, Zip is doing a nice break on the daily. It's going to be a swing trade for that one. And then we've got FLT as well, which obviously this break here. So yeah, so if you like the content, please do hit that like button, and sub would be appreciated. Otherwise, guys, catch you next time.